Diastasis recti. This is something you've probably heard of before if you are a yoga teacher or you are a person who has been close to somebody who was ever pregnant or gave birth, or you are a person who has been pregnant or given birth. It's not the only reason why somebody might have diastasis recti, but it is the most common. And it is very common. It's a gap or separation in the front most superficial layer of the abs, the rectus abdominis. This famous muscle is known for its potential, apparent potential to be a six-pack. But that's what it looks like. It looks long and front and center with those little compartments of muscles and that line straight up the middle. It connects at the bottom of the ribs and the top of the pubic bone. And it's that line up the center, up the middle, that experiences a little gap or separation. And that is what is called diastasis recti, that little gap or separation. Note that it is said that if it is greater than 2 fingers or over 5 centimeters wide, you definitely need to go and seek medical attention. Now, if you know you have diastasis recti and you're trying to take now healing measures, then make sure that you have checked with your trusted healthcare provider and they have approved that, yes, you're ready for really gentle and gradually progressive exercises. And if you are a teacher, then this is really empowering and professional for you to let your students know, or the person that's coming to you for advice. And so let them know that it's something that they really should check with their trusted healthcare provider about. Make sure that they are ready. We don't want to perpetuate the issue. We do not want to make it worse. That would be very irresponsible and way out of our scope of practice as teachers. We are not doctors. So it's really, really important that if this is you or somebody that you're working with, that they know exactly what's going on in their bodies and exactly what stage or level it's at so that they can take the right measures. Because if they are ready for that gradual and gentle progression, then here is where you begin. I'm going to give you 4 exercises to check in with, to try, to establish sort of the foundation of what you need in your core, the connections that we need to either make or reconnect. And once you can do these and make those connections, then awesome. Guess what you're ready for? Core values healing. Guess what program is within the portal that you have full access to? Core values healing and building. But you have to heal first. It starts from the inside out. You start deep. We cannot build upon trauma, pain, and dysfunction or injury. We cannot build upon them. We have to heal them first. If you try to just power through the pain and build on top of trauma, dysfunction, pain, or injury, then you make it worse. And it didn't go away. It's still right under there, ready to rear its ugly head. So we heal first, but that's awesome because you're in the right place. Okay, so check in with these 4 movements and see where you're at. And if you're ready and you've received the okay from your medical provider, then you can begin the healing series. And then when you're ready, when that healing series is completed successfully, then you can start the building series because now you're building on top of healing. You're building on top of what you've healed. And that is one of the very most important parts of this process. All right, let's check in with those 4 movements. The first one brings you down onto your back like you were setting up for bridge pose. I like to use a block during this exercise. And here is why. Our step 1 is to set the foundation and work from the inside out. So start deep. Setting the foundation is going to start with that base of support of our core, of our torso, and that's our pelvic floor. If there has been injury or trauma or dysfunction in this area, then we have to reconnect the dots. We have to reconnect the brain and the motor neurons to the pelvic floor. A block between the thighs turns on our adductors, our inner thighs. Now, we don't want to clench it. We don't want to squeeze it. We just want to gently, just a little gentle, little hug in towards that block. The adductors connect to the pelvic floor. So this is our little gateway, our little bypass to tap into that pelvic floor again. However, we're not asking, nor do we want the adductors to do the job for the pelvic floor. We're not trying to overpower and bypass the pelvic floor. We're trying to connect to it. So just this gentle little pulse in to the block to help us connect to that pelvic floor. Another way that you can try to connect to the pelvic floor is imagine that you're cutting off your pee midstream. Or if you're familiar with Kegels, like you're doing a Kegel. And all of this just to get us connected with that foundation, to that activation at the pelvic floor. Now, it's always, everything's about balance and the dynamic interplay of opposing parts. Opposing part to this is the top lid of our torso, of our cylinder of our control, of our core. That top lid is the diaphragm. So now we need to create that internal awareness. Remember, we work from the inside out. We start with the deep and then we go superficial. So to create this connection awareness to the diaphragm, which lies right underneath the rib cage, it's our top lid, the lid to the cylinder of control, to the core. We connect with it and we activate it and we utilize it via the breath. So here is where you check on how are you breathing? Are you using your diaphragm or are you using your belly? Because when we're dealing with diastasis recti, we really don't want to aggressively be using our belly for our breathing. We want to learn how or re-establish diaphragmatic breathing. So imagine this muscle like a little parachute underneath the rib cage, and that's what we're using. We're using that muscle for breathing. You can imagine the expansion of the rib cage and the deflation of the rib cage versus the breath coming in and out of the belly. This is the next thing we need to establish. We set the foundation, that connection to the pelvic floor. The next thing we do is we establish diaphragmatic breathing. And then we connect the dots. Imagine the vertebrae is the dots. We connect the dots. This is posture. Posture is key. Structure. Again, we start deep. What's the deepest muscle of the core? Our transverse abdominis. It's a spine stabilizer. It looks like a corset. So we use that visualization to help us with this 3D all the way around the spine, front, sides, to the back, to the side, to the front, activation of our deepest core muscle, the transverse abdominis. We imagine that corset tightening all the way around the spine. We keep this really subtle natural gap in the low back. We imagine two hands just gently squeezing in at the sides. We imagine the sandwich compression, front to back, back to front, meeting in the middle. We imagine zipping up the low abs, weaving the abs together at that center line. We imagine that our torso is a tube of toothpaste that we're just gently squeezing around all sides. And that's how we connect to our deepest core muscles. So we have our foundation, the pelvic floor. We have our lid, the diaphragm and diaphragmatic breathing. And we have our deepest core muscle activated, the transverse abdominis. And then we can start to think about that repairing, that weaving together of that center line up, the rectus abdominis, weaving it together, drawing it in and down, drawing it in and down, zipping up, weaving together, drawing it back together and down. Step 2, we remove the block. Hold that step 1 for 10 seconds and try it 3 times. If you can do that, move on to this next step 2. Don't let go of anything that you built in step 1. We aren't done with step 1. We take step 1 with us. Keeping all of step 1, we do knee fallouts. Slowly letting the left knee fall out to the side and slowly drawing it back in. Don't sacrifice anything that we've built. That remains. Slowly let the right knee fall out and then draw that back in. Keep everything that we established, that foundation that we set, we keep it with us. And you repeat this 10 times side to side. This is your step 2. Step 2 builds upon step 1. If you can complete this successfully, then you can try step 3. Step 3 builds upon step 1. Step 1 never goes away, and we never stop diaphragmatically breathing throughout all of these exercises and in this entire process. We're breathing using our diaphragm, the rib cage, lifting, expanding, and deflating. Step 3, keep it all. And then we're going to slowly walk it out, lifting one knee up, one foot off the ground, and then putting it back down. And then the other, 10 times each side. If you can complete this successfully, 10 times each side for 3 rounds, then we can try step 4. Step 4 is a baby bridge. It's the miniature of the baby bridge. We lift the hips off the ground by activating the glute max. We stop right away, just once that pelvis is elevated. We ensure that step 1 is completely included from the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, and the deep cinching all around the spine. You hold this and breathe diaphragmatic breathing for 10 seconds. Now we have the weight of gravity to help us with that suctioning of the belly down. Remember, the back is supporting and holding space so that it can sandwich, compress, and meet in the middle. Imagine that weaving together. Imagine that pelvic floor activation, like you're squeezing a block, like you're cutting off your pee midstream. And the diaphragmatic breathing. The support from the back, the weaving back together at the front, drawing up, together, and down. Drawing up, together, and down. Hold it for 10 seconds, then release, and repeat 3 times. Now, if that was successful, then now you are ready to go into the portal and begin Core Values Healing. This program has been used by hundreds of people, many women. It has rave reviews. And I can personally tell you that I finally healed my core from the inside out using this program 10 years after giving birth to 2 children. So it's never too late. And it doesn't just go away. It'll hang around for a decade. You'll just build upon it. But we can break it back down again. We can set the foundation. We can heal and then build. So join me in the portal. I'll see you there. Things to avoid and why before you've done the healing program. 1, crunches and sit-ups. Why? Because the tear is right here at the rectus abdominis, that most front superficial layer of the abs. That muscle's job is flexion of the spine. This is flexion of the spine. Forward folds, crunching, sit-ups is flexion of the spine. Imagine that you had a gap, a tear in your bicep right here, and you took a 20-pound weight and you just started bulking out curls. That would not be good for this gap, this tear in your bicep. It would perpetuate it. It would make it worse. It's no different for the gap and the tear in your rectus abdominis and that most front superficial layer of the abs. So if we're going to crunches, then that's basically like doing some heavy bicep curls with a torn, separated bicep. We don't do extreme back bends until we've healed. Why? Because that takes a lengthening of the rectus abdominis. Lengthening, if you can't keep it together, perpetuates the gap and the tear. That would be like if you had a tear in your bicep, you just cranked it against the wall and stretched it really hard. It would make it worse. We also want to avoid planks because this is a hard whole body activity that requires that front layer of the abs to be fully incorporated, invested, lifting and resisting gravity. So if I've got a tear here, but I'm trying to keep all of this together and pulling up and resisting gravity, that's going to be really hard. It's going to put a lot of pressure on a very vulnerable area. And lastly, we don't want to do anything that incorporates really heavy lifting. Okay? Remember that flexion is this muscle's contracting job, and back bending, extension, is this muscle's lengthening job. It does a job both ways. It does a job when it contracts. It does a job when it lengthens. So you want to avoid that flexion with heavy lifting. That's a lot on a very vulnerable muscle as well. So those are the main things you want to avoid before you've sought medical attention and help and advice from your trusted medical care provider. And before you've checked in with those 4 steps to see if you're ready for the healing program, and before you have completed core values healing.